Hello, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I am in broadcasting from our usual office in Uppsala in a Corona setup with Per Nilsson.
What's up, everyone? Yeah, it's good to be here.
And if you're coming here from the Uppsala Guitar Festival site, that's awesome. If you're coming to us from like a regular Strandberg fan background, that's also very awesome. We've done this Strandberg was stranded live stream since back in the March April timeframe. This is episode 17. As usual, we will archive it on our YouTube channel afterwards, and as usual, we'll be as interactive as we can. And I'm just going to, I think, leave the word to Per, and I will act as a moderator, and I'll pass him questions as they come in the comments field, and look forward to hanging with you guys for an hour or whenever we feel like quitting. So, Per, take it away.
Yeah, depending on how much fun we have. So I'm sitting here at the Strandberg place in Uppsala, and I actually have Ola on this side of me, my left, your right, I guess. So if you see me looking at this this way, is because I'm talking to him, and yeah. So maybe we will be chatting a bit as well. But anyway, this is the first time I've done a thing like this when I haven't really, been directly interacting with the audience. I mean, I've got Ola here, but I don't have you guys in the room, so that's a new one for me, and a little bit awkward, because the way I like to do clinics is, to not have things planned out too much. Instead, have the interaction with the audience. People shoot me questions and stuff. So I would like to try to do that through the comment section for this stream. So anything you want to ask at any time, just go ahead and write it, and Ola will try to his best to sift through everything and shoot the best questions my way. And I guess the post for this stream is gonna stay on Facebook. So stuff that I won't manage to answer here, I'll go and do some answering afterwards, if that's okay with you. So
I'm sure that'll be fine.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna kick things off with jamming for a bit. I have a few tracks, and it's mostly just like backing tracks for improvising, because that's the thing that I enjoy doing the most. I used to play like some of my own songs, like Scar Symmetry songs and stuff like that, during clinics, but at some point I got bored of sitting and playing all this rhythm parts. I want a solo, I want to jam, so that's what I'll be doing. So just gonna choose which one I'm gonna start with. I've got a bunch of them. Let's do this one. It's the solo section for an old Brecker Brothers tune called Rocks, and this is a pretty fun one. So let's see what I can do with it. The track goes on forever. It's like a 10-minute track, but I figure I'll have to end it somewhere, right?
Woo!
Woo! Wow, what a terrific audience! Is there anything out there? Is anyone listening? You think?
Yeah, there is a ton of people here listening.
Right on.
Owner says, "What are the changes, and what do you think over them?"
That's an excellent question. This one is a cool track because it's like a two-parter. So the first, I think it's 16 bars, something like that. It's F Dorian, and since it's just a static thing, you can stretch out and do whatever. I tend to stick to playing mostly Dorian, like. But within playing Dorian, I like to like sort of shift from playing over F, like over an F minor as like the center, and instead shift to other, like, think other triads from the F Dorian scale. So, for example, in F Dorian, if you play the E flat major triad, if you put that on top, like that triad has got all of the, that's like the upper structure of the chord. So you have the basic triad, the F minor. So then you have that on top. That's sort of the sound, and that's really nice. And so I often play around that triad instead of the F minor triad. So you have this in the back end, and I go. And then I like go back to F minor, and I like toggle in between them. And for me, that makes it sound. It sounds like something is happening. It's like you give it a sort of harmonic movement, even though it's like it's only one chord. It feels like something is happening, and you can do other stuff, like do all the triads from that scale, like. And then the next part is like a bunch of like modal chords. It starts with an E flat 11, which is like E mixolydian. And then it goes to this E over E flat. And that's like an E flat Phrygian sound. And then it goes to a G major triad over E flat, which is a sort of C minor melodic sound. Or if you think from the E flat is a Lydian augmented, and then it goes back to the E flat Phrygian. So even though the chords move quite a bit, since they have the root note in common, that sort of makes it easier to play over for me. Like you do mixolydian first, and then you do Phrygian, and then you do the Lydian augmented, and back to Phrygian. So that's cool.
We have a related question. Per, what is your approach to play over chord changes? Which I guess you pretty much answered. But then a follow-up: any specific type of exercise for that?
For playing over chord changes?
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I gotta check the tuning here. I don't know. It's the tropical weather in Sweden that messes up with the with my tuning. So sorry about that.
Uppsala climate.
Yeah, the highlands. All right. Playing over chord changes.
And any specific type of exercise to get better at it, I guess.
I mean, starting by playing like only the triads. If you have something like like a very typical chord progression. If you do something like. And I mean, often if you're playing melodies, when you change chord, it's nice if what you're playing, if you when you change to the next chord, that you go from whatever you note you are on, and you go to like the closest available like note in the next chord. I mean, you can also do like, but that sounds more like something you would do to comp someone, you know. It's not as melodic as. Um, yeah. When it comes to more tricky chord progressions, sometimes it can be really helpful when you start, trying to wrap your head around something, to figure out, especially if you have two chords that doesn't seem to have too much in common, that you can find what common notes they have. There's a song, Pat Metheny song, where he goes between a B minor and a B flat major, and it's like this is like a minor scale and this is a Lydian scale, and I mean they don't have the same root note. And for many people, when you start playing over changes, it's so easy that you have one chord and you start on the on the root note, like, and then comes the next chord, and then you like move, you go to that root note and start there, because you cannot connect the scales, in other places, and also maybe you're doing one scale in this position, you only know the other scale in a different position, so you move, and that's not very helpful in creating something musical. So when I first learned that song, it's called Face Dance. I figure out that the B minor, that's the same as D major, right? It's the like the relative key, and the B flat Lydian, that's the same notes as D minor. So it's shifting from D major to D minor. And the scales have three notes in common. So you have you have some notes that you can play regardless of what which chord it is underneath, and you can anchor melodies around that. You have the D that's in both chords. So that can be really helpful.
All right, next question. Gabriel. Hi, I was always struggling with alternate picking. Too much tension in my arm while doing it. Any tips for a relaxing way of doing it?
That's a great question, Gabriel, and it's something that's alternate picking has always been a bit of a struggle for me, actually. Like when I was young, and I heard guys like Vinnie Moore, he was like a robot, a machine gun, right hand, and it seemed like he could pick super fast for hours on end. And for me, it was like always a struggle. Not that maybe that I get so tense, but it's like it's hard to get the speed up and have the coordination. For me, it's like much easier to play legato stuff and sweep and tapping. So, and I think that for me that plays a part in why I play the way I do. Because for me, I mean, some people, I mean, you might consider me to have pretty decent alternate picking compared to someone else. I don't know, but for me, it was the hardest thing to do. So there is that too. You can also embrace, whatever weaknesses you have, and more like work towards the stuff that's comfortable to you. Because I believe that our limitations, that's also what defines us as humans, I guess, and as musicians. So if you're struggling with that one isolated thing, don't worry about it too much. You don't need to be super proficient in that one thing. Like, I'm sure there's other things, but having that said, I guess, I mean, you've got to be somewhat relaxed if you're gonna play for longer periods of time. And yeah, I don't think I have a really good answer for it. Just, I mean, sometimes when you practice, you can add some tension to it, but if you do it for more than a few minutes, and if it's something that you do often, then it sounds like it could end up in a bad place for you. I used to suffer from injuries myself, like 20 years ago, from over practicing. So I know what that is like. So whatever you do, like, be really mindful that you don't overdo anything, and practice with that in mind.
Right. Next question. Andy is asking, any tips or comfortable shapes on using double stops and or wide intervals?
Comfortable, nice shapes for doing double stop. I mean, I don't know that I do play double stops all that much. I mean, that's when you do like two notes at the same time, right? It's like that kind of thing. Or I guess, I think that's what a double stop is. And I mean, that kind of playing, that sounds, like, I don't know, like rock and roll or blues or jazz music. It's not where I come from. So the few times I do things like that, I'm feeling like I'm going to a, a masquerade party. Yeah, I'm dressing up as something funny, and it's like it's not me. So, but yeah, but it's a cool thing. But I don't have any really good tips, so sorry about that.
All right. Next question is from Emmanuel. Per Nilsson, how do you approach combining palm muting when hybrid picking?
Interesting. One of the interesting things about like teaching and doing clinics is that you don't know what kind of questions you're gonna get, and sometimes it's like it's stuff that I haven't thought about. And like palm muting, I'm not even sure
Matthias E.A. Eklund, he posted a video today from Freak Audio Lab,
yeah,
where he gives us the secret. He uses his Strandberg hoodie to
oh
mute the strings.
oh yeah. I mean, like if the question is how to mute strings, I mean, when someone talks about palm muting, it's, for me, it's more like you use the palm of your hand to, like, for me that's palm muting. And like, I guess sometimes I do, like, yeah, I do that. I remembered. And I don't know, I just do it, just take care that my right hand is covering, like in this lick I'm palm muting the G string, and I don't have the hand lower down, so I'm also palm muting the E string. So there's nothing really more to it than that. And what I'm doing here is like it's just three notes on the G string that's palm muted. I picked it once, and then it's hammer-ons, and then I pluck the on the high E string. Yeah, it's a pretty cool sound. sounds like kind of aggressive. Yeah.
Next question is from Jakub. He says, "How much time of the day do you spend writing / recording or exercising, if you do?"
Um, well, I mean, when I was like when I was a kid, when I was in my teens, and I was a maniac about guitar and music. I really practice, all day long. And I had a routine, like I wrote down, like what my daily routine would be, and I changed it every few weeks. And it could be like I'm gonna do this much of alternate picking, and then I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna write 4-part harmony for an hour, and then I'm gonna practice improvising over Dorian changes, stuff like that. But nowadays I don't do it. I don't practice in any in any way like that. That is a routine. Nowadays I work from my home studio. I record music, my own stuff, and I record for other people. And some days I spend 10 hours, working on recording stuff, and it's all kinds of different things. Sometimes I write stuff, sometimes I record solos. Uh, but it's not so much practicing. Uh, and and I mean, if I'm writing for a new album, then I'm gonna do a few weeks of like pretty much only writing. I'm not gonna do anything else. So I'm gonna be in that headspace, and then when I record like rhythm guitars for an album, then that's the only thing I'm doing for a week. But then I started late at night because I have a 1-year-old at home. So during the days I work in my studio, and then he comes home from preschool, and we hang out. And like once he's in bed late at night, and often when my wife has gone to bed, and like the apartment is quiet, and like, and I can go into a sort of meditative state. Then I often I sit in the couch, lights are out, I sit just with my guitar. I don't even plug it in, and I just slowly noodle. Sometimes I play something, but most of the time I'm just improvising, coming up with stuff, on the spot. And that's actually my favorite way of playing. There's no audience. There's not even a sound. There's not an amp involved. It's just a guitar. And it's like the beautiful resonant sound of my Strandberg, and it's dark and it's me. So that's what I do.
Nice. Next question is from Etienne. He says, in your composition process, how do you approach metric modulation?
Metric modulation. I guess that's not something that I use, a whole lot. There's actually, I'm sure there's gonna be questions about this too, but the coming Scar Symmetry album that I'm still working on, which I guess is the answer to that question. If anyone has asked that, it's still in the works. It's getting there. I just got received all the solos from Benjamin, and they are sick. So I'm probably gonna have to scratch whatever I've recorded and start anew because it's insane. But anyways, there's one part where I do a metric modulation. Let's see. I don't want to give away the riff, but it's like the first riff is like a triplet thing, so it's like and it changes the tempo by doing a triplet thing. It's like a triplet fill. And that thing that is like a 1 2 3 1 2 3, that becomes the 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2. So I guess that's what a metric modulation is. But I haven't done anything more advanced than that. But you're gonna hear it in 2045 when the new album comes out.
All right, one more question, and then maybe a song again. Kay asks, how do you approach chromatic scales or Holsworthian style runs, etc.? Do you have any good pointers regarding where or how to learn more of that style?
Um, I mean, I almost feel a little bit awkward talking about that because I feel like I'm a beginner myself with those kinds of concepts, and it's like a bit like when I talked about playing double stops and doing things that's not super set in my style. It almost feels like I'm putting on a clown nose or something. Um, but there are some cool stuff you can do. I mean, Alan Alan uses he uses some what I call as like the synthetic scales, like the symmetrical diminished, for example, and symmetrical augmented, and I use those quite a bit. When I write songs, I like to sometimes do a solo part where I get to play symmetrical diminished. And for those who don't know, it's a symmetrical scale. So it alternates between minor and major seconds, and that's one that Holdsworth played a lot, and it's really neat because of the symmetrical nature of the scale. Anything you play, you can transpose it a minor third, up. You can transpose it in minor thirds until you transpose it in an entire octave. And since the D and the B string and the G and the E string, they are spaced a major sixth apart, which is like 3 minor seconds. So anything you play on the D string, like if I do, you can play the same shape on the B string. So you just skip a string, and that's like instant Holdsworth sound. And then you can do the same thing on the E and G string. You just have to move up a step. So that's pretty cool. There's also like a lot of chromatic stuff you can do. I mean, when you play chromatic stuff, people think of it as being you do a chromatic passing note. If you do a minor scale, you can do you throw in a note in between the notes in a scale, but you can also like apply that to entire and to several notes. So for example, if you have you have an E chord and you approach it from one semitone below. Uh, I think that's a pretty neat sound. You can also now I'm just gonna throw all kinds of things at you. So there's another cool thing that Holdsworth does, and that is he plays something called a multitonic system. That's like something that John Coltrane, I guess, was a pioneer of. And that's when you play in a key, and then you consider, if you split an octave in equal parts, if you split an octave in two parts, I mean, it's going to be spaced a tritone apart, Halfway between a C and a C is a F sharp. That's the midway point. So you can play something in the key of C. Then you transpose it and play the same thing or a slight variation of it in F sharp. And then you go back to C. It's like a way of, it's like you're in, and then suddenly you're way out, and then you're back in. It's like, it sounds really out there, but there's something about it that really works, and Alan did that a lot. So I think you can try is maybe like do a C minor 7 arpeggio thing. And I'm gonna start on the 7th note. So that's the shape. I'm doing that, and then I'm playing the same thing and tritone up. And that sounds cool when it's when it's faster. So I guess that's about as far as my knowledge goes when it comes to Alan's playing.
All right. How about breaking it up with the song?
Sure thing. Just gonna have a little look at this. I'm plugging my guitar through a Helix, Line 6 Helix, and it's a wonderful piece of gear. But for some reason, I've got one on my own, but for some reason I don't use the tuner in it. I've got a little stomp version. It's got so few knobs and buttons on it, so I use a tuner on the side. So I actually never, got my head around this tuner. It's like super sensitive. So I'm gonna do another improv thing. Let's see what I got. Yeah, I'm gonna do the Jason Becker one. That's a fun one. The legendary guitar player Jason Becker. He put out an album a year or two ago, and I mean, obviously he can't play the guitar since many years. But he did an album with a lot of guitar players guesting on this song called Valley of Fire. I wasn't guesting on the song. I'm sorry to say, that would have been sweet, but the man posted the song without the guitars for everyone to have a go at, and that's what I'm gonna do. So here's Jason Becker's Valley of Fire. I don't know if it is a long ink. I think we lost sound. Oh, sorry, my bad. Computer is going through the Helix, and I had a tuner in, so. Oh. There we go. it goes on for a couple more minutes, but
Woohoo!
yay, woohoo! It's kind of weird, like doing the performance in a room with only two guys, and it's like, hello. But I could hear the applause from afar. So thank you for that.
There's plenty of them.
Yes, I'm sure.
Let's take a question from Kaushik. He says, "Can you please tell us something about how you visualize the fretboard?"
Yeah, that's a good one. And something I've, especially when I was like learning and figuring out the fretboard myself. How do you break out of playing the sort of patterns and positions and shapes that you learn? I think the best way is that you have to dare to go outside of where your fingers know to go. So if you learn a major scale, if you know it in 4 places on the neck, that's probably too little. You have to know more. You have to know everything you're gonna play. You need to know how to finger it. From any which way. And in a way, that's sort of easy, because you can just you can figure out any scale in all the positions possible. And one thing that I did, I learned every scale in every position, and for all the 7-note scales, I mean, you have you can play them 3 notes a string, and if you play F major, you play it 3 notes a string starting from F. Then you can start on the next note and move up and start on the G, but still be in F, and play all the notes in that position, 3 notes a string. And then from the next note, and then you have covered all of that. And I mean, that's sort of easy. It's a lot of information, but it's like how do you start using, how do you use the entire fretboard, to create music? I guess that's like more the important stuff. And for me, a thing is that I find it, when you improvise, when you try to create melodies, it's really difficult, to think of the this music, going from the lowest string to the brightest, and changing strings all the time. It's hard for me to envision melodies like that, because it's like you on a 6-string guitar, it's like you're dealing with 6 rows of notes. It's like a keyboard. On a keyboard, you have from the low to the high, and it's the same on the guitar. On one string you have low notes, and you're going up on the high note. So when you change in strings, it's actually like you're playing a piano, but you have to go to the next string, and it's like the next piano, but it's transposed a fourth, and then you go to the next, and it's transposed a fourth, and then it's transposed a major third when you go to the B string. So it's not intuitive for me, to try to play melodies in that way, even though I do it. I mean, you have to, but to practice it, it's super nice to like limit yourself to maybe playing only on one string, and then try to improvise over something only playing on one string. And I mean, suddenly if you want to play arpeggios and stuff, your technique goes out the window, because you can't really do any fast stuff on one string unless you're involving your other hand. But if you're playing on one string, it's much easier to because when the melody is going higher, it's just move your you move your finger in that direction instead of having to jump to the next string. And you can do the same thing, like on two adjacent strings, or even practice scales just on two adjacent strings. Whoops. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, any time, any way you can learn to play an arpeggio or scale or whatever, you have to try to find it out and figure it out all over the fretboard, and then try to, whenever you have a you have an arpeggio, you can play it here, but you also have to know the other positions, and when you actually play, you have to dare to jump in between them, and eventually with time, things are gonna start to connect for you.
Right. I think I'm going to answer a question here that more than one person has asked, which is when your latest signature guitar models will be available again. The awesome guitar that you're playing now, the new Singularity 7, which also exists in Singularity 8, and they're both equipped with the wonderful True Temperament fretting system, which we might ask Per to describe shortly. We announced these back in January this year at the NAMM show, and we also launched the 6-string True Temperament models, but unfortunately we ran into some production glitches and a pandemic later on, so we're still working out the final kinks of the 7 and 8 string True Temperament models, but we are working on them, and the new Singularity will be available as soon as we can. Terrible answer, but it's the best one I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we'll have it soon. At least you've got one of each.
Yep. Yep. So I'm pretty happy with it anyway.
This next question, David, what's your stream of thoughts like while improvising? Or chord progressions shapes? Question mark.
Well, my best, stream of thought is when there is no stream of thought, when it's like almost automatic. And the stuff that I was talking about, that I like to sit in the couch late at night on my own, alone with the notes I play. That's, I feel like that's where my best playing happens, because every once in a while, people, they talk about stuff like the zone, that you're in the zone, and it's like when you suddenly stop thinking, and it feels like ideas don't have to, they don't have to pass your judgment, or any, you don't have to think about anything. It just, when music just happens, and it's not something, maybe it's not something that happens a lot, but when it does, that's the best place to be. And I guess if you play stuff that you're not comfortable with, maybe play over chord changes that are difficult, and so nothing, you don't really have the skills, then I guess you're not going to be in the zone when you play that. But that's my ideal place to be.
All right, next question from James. As a musician, should I spend more time practicing and improvising or learning songs?
That's a fair question, but I guess it comes down to what you want to do. I mean, I prefer to spend a lot of time improvising, and which essentially is like exploring music. When I improvise, I don't try to play anything I played before. I try to, I usually I play this note. Now this time I'm gonna play that note. And sometimes, I go outside of the stuff I know, and I try to just, try to do stuff, play notes that in an order that I haven't before. And if you want to play songs, if you want to learn songs, I mean that's fair too. But like, why do you want to learn songs? Do you want to learn the songs because you enjoy playing the songs, or do you want to, learn something, to impress the guys or the girls or your parents, or do you want to learn them to, sort of unlock the secrets to why the music is so good, so that you can apply it in your own art. So yeah, I mean, it's like whatever you want to do. Learning songs is, it's a fantastic way of like getting like under the skin of your favorite composers, and I've certainly learned a lot of songs. But you can also learn songs, by actively listening to songs. At least if you have a reasonably good ear, that you can, try to analyze why things sound good. Yeah. But the improvising is my favorite thing, so that's what I spend the most time on. And something I could add, if you're learning songs, as a thing to add, tools to your own composition skills. For me, improvising, that's like real time composing. When you compose something, I mean, you have to come up with something new, ideally. So when improvising is the same thing. It's just when I improvise, often, you improvise in time. You cannot, go back and fix something. It's like what comes out is the music. When you compose, you're also like improvising. It's just not in real time, and you can decide for a long time, like, I'm gonna use that note or that note. So it's like two sides of the same coin. So if you want to write songs, it can be really, really helpful to have improvisational skills. For example, if you have written, the way I often write songs is I write, the instrumental stuff first. I write the guitar riffs, the chord progressions, and then I add the vocal melodies more as an afterthought often. But then, like, my improvisational skills come in handy, because I just pick up the microphone and I press record on my DAW, and I improvise melodies. So a lot of the vocal melodies I come up with are, improvisations. And I mean, I use the same knowledge and the same ideas and tools when I sing melodies, than when I play them on guitar. So for me, it's a bit of the same thing.
It's very cool. Um, Yanis says, have you ever had a period in your life where you had no inspiration? And if yes, how did you get out of it?
Well, as far as, like composing and like creative stuff like that, when I was younger, when I was like in my teens and early 20s, and I was playing in bands, it was really hard for me to write songs. It took a long time, and I was, second guessing everything, and it didn't, it didn't exactly flow out of me. But then in my mid 20s, I got repetitive strain injuries in my arms. I had to quit playing guitar for 4 years, and during those years, I had a little sequencer thing that I programmed and wrote some stuff on, but not really, just some stuff, and I couldn't play the guitars, and I didn't really play anything But in my head, music still, kept going on. I heard solos even if I couldn't play them. And when I came out of that, and the injuries, when they sort of magically went away after 4 years, for some reason my creativity had like skyrocketed. Maybe it was all the bottle up frustration or something, but or maybe just being older, or not caring too much about what people think. But that really helped in the creativity department. I don't really have had writer's block in any bad way, but I'm the kind of person, if I've got too much stuff going on, if like I'm gonna have to do my taxes, and my mom's birthday is coming up, and I have to do this, and the car broke down. If it's like, if there's all these kinds of things that happen, that can like dampen my creativity a bit, because when I really want to be creative, I want to I want to be in a nice cool environment. I don't want to have the phone on. I don't want to have my kid around, or so usually I tend to write music late at night, because it feels like the world calms down, everything goes dark, and then I eat some good food, drink a beer or something, and when I feel relaxed, and when I feel my best, that's when I'm the most creative. But I always feel pretty good, so I'm always kind of creative,
That's great news.
I guess.
Quick response to a gear question and then maybe a song.
Sure.
What amps, cabs do you find yourself gravitating towards when it comes to your leads? It sounds like you add delay and phaser effect-wise. Just have always questioned what amps or cabs you gravitated towards.
The sad answer is that I don't know. I love the world we live in nowadays, when you have all of these cool plugins in your DAW, where you can just plug in, and I'm the kind of guy, like, if I turn to the left and that doesn't sound good, then I turn to the right, and if that doesn't sound good, I go to the next knob, and but the things that I go for, for a lead tone at least, if anything sounds harsh, I'm just gonna skip to the next thing. Like it's gotta sound nice and smooth. Now today we're running the Helix. It's like it goes directly, it's direct to whatever, direct to the stream. So whatever device you're listening on, it's like the direct thing. So it's maybe you're not hearing exactly the same thing that I have in the room. I tried to dial in a sort of softish sound, but I'm not sure how it sounds on your end. So my apologies if I've got a horrible tone right now. But sure, I often like to have a phaser on. I don't have it right now, but a phaser that is set to like slow settings. And I actually, when I use the pedal, I use the EVH, Eddie Van Halen, rest in peace. And I guess that's where I got it from, because, Eddie Van Halen with a phaser doesn't get cooler than that, right? And I'm going to give away a little secret. I don't think I've, it's not a big deal, but I usually don't talk about it. But since I'm here with my good friend Ola, and I wanna deliver the goods. But here's something cool that I do. If you have a phaser plugin in your DAW, like Cubase has one, there are also plugin phasers that are emulating pedal phasers. But I often use the Cubase own phaser. Then I find a guitar tone that I like. I've been using the the Nolly's, the archetype Nolly by Neural, that plugin. I use that amp, and then I have 3 tracks of guitar, and on each track, 3 tracks, mono tracks, and on each of them I have the Nolly plugin with the same settings, like a dial in a nice, soft, distorted, nice sounding tone, and then in front of the amp on 2 of the tracks, I put a phaser with slightly different settings on both tracks. And then I take the phaser tracks and I pan them hard left and right. And I have the non-phaser track in the middle. Then I sum these onto a group track or whatever it's called in your DAW. And then I add all the stereo delay and reverb that I need. Sometimes it goes through a compressor as well. And then you have sort of like the left and right channel. You can adjust them, to how wide you want it to be. So if you have them, way below the middle track, it's going to be really subtle. But if you drive them up or even have them louder than the mid track, it's going to sound super wide and wild. And it's like, it's almost, since it's stereo and it's like, it's different the speeds of the phasers, it's gonna feel like almost like it goes around your head when you like listen on headphones. It's almost like a rotating cabinet, like an old Leslie or something. And that's what I've been using a lot these past years on, for example, the latest Scar Symmetry album. That's all over the solos. So hope you try it out for yourself.
Yeah, that's as usual. I mean, anything you play just sounds like Pear. I don't think it matters what gear. It's Pear.
Yeah, but I mean that goes for. I think that goes for everyone. Everyone has everyone has their style and their tone. Maybe not everyone's happy with it, and not everyone sounds very good. I know I don't sound very good all the time, but sometimes it's better.
Just one more question before we go, since we mentioned
Sure.
Eddie. How has Mark is asking? Would you say Eddie had an influence on your playing?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite album is 5150, the first album they did when Dave Lee Roth left the band. That album is just like, the songs are amazing, and Sammy Hagar sings his ass off. It's like everything is crazy high. I mean, I feel bad for Sammy Hagar, 20, 30 years later when he has got to sing the same songs live. But it's just such a badass album. The first time I sort of heard Eddie Van Halen stuff was, when it came onto my radar as a guitar player. It wasn't actually from listening to Van Halen. I probably had heard them. Like, my older brother listened to all these kinds of hard rock and heavy metal bands in the mid 80s. But then a friend of my brother's was visiting, and he played guitar, and he was maybe 3 years older than me, and I maybe I was 11 or 12 or something. And we were down in our basement. My dad had just bought an old Bellwood Stratocaster. So that's when I transitioned from nylon string acoustic to electric guitar. I think I was 11 or possibly 12. And okay, so this guy, he picks up the guitar and he just starts going and started playing that kind of stuff. I can't remember exactly, but it did like 3 notes on one string triads, and I'm sure I'd heard it, but never thought about what was happening. But when I actually saw a person in the flesh 2 meters away from me, I could see what he was doing, and I felt something in your mind being like, whoa, like, wait until I can show the guys in school. So then I started doing that, and then obviously I connected it to the albums. So, but I really, I particularly like the way Eddie Van Halen played rhythm guitar. Like when he played riffs, it's like it's so it's so loose, and he plays he suddenly at any time he can go into a lead thing, or you do some harmonics, or whammy bar dive. It's such a cool style. And we did there's been occasions where we've done gigs with Scar Symmetry when we've only had me on guitar, when we didn't have the second guy. And for me that was just so much fun, even if I didn't go crazy Eddie Van Halen style, but to be alone playing rhythm stuff, and you can add vibrato and stuff. I really like that. So, but for me, Eddie Van Halen, it was one of the biggest one, maybe the biggest, most important rock guitar player. So he will be greatly missed.
All right, we're on overtime, so let's do song, and the viewers post your questions, and we'll pick one more question after the song, and then finish off.
Yeah, and then I'll be browsing through the questions and see if later on, maybe today or tomorrow, I'll answer some more. So don't worry about it. So, which one am I gonna pick? I think I'm gonna do the Neely Brosh one. This is my friend Neely Brosh is an American guitar player. She used to play guitar for Tony McAlpine. That's a cool gig. And she put out a solo album, and one of the songs she used as a sort of solo contest thing. And to help promote it, I recorded an own version, like of a solo of it, posted it, and I think it's like my most viewed video on YouTube. So, and it's a really cool piece. So I usually bring it to clinics and stuff because I really enjoy playing over it. So here it goes. This is A Matter of Perception by Neely Brosh. a few more minutes, but I think I ran out of ideas.
Okay, one last question. I think this is interesting. Kalle is asking, do you feel limited playing a 6-string when you're used to play on a 7? And the same if you compare a 7 and 8-string.
I don't know. I so rarely play 6-string nowadays. I got a 6-string from Ola like a year ago or so. But I tuned it in 5th. So I've been messing around with that for a bit, and that's a completely different beast. And it's I feel like super limited playing in 5th, but it's cool. But I mean I don't think if I would play a 6-string, if I would pick it up to actually play it as a 6-string regular tuning, I wouldn't use that for playing any heavy rhythm stuff, which is mostly what the 7-string is for. So maybe I think it probably would open things up for me. It would be more, not less, playing a 6-string, because one of the tough things about playing like an extended range instrument is that, I mean, often everything is bigger, and this one has a little longer. It's a multi-scale, but on the bass side of things, it's a longer scale than it would be, on a standard 6-string fixed scale guitar. So everything gets a little bit bigger, and you have that seven string, that can start ringing if you're playing tapping stuff with a high gain sound, and you're not muting stuff properly, and it's one extra string to worry about. And then to play an 8-string guitar, it's the same thing, but it's even worse. Then you have an even longer scale length, so everything you play, you have to stretch more, and it hurts your fingers, and the tension of the strings, it's unless you put on like super light strings, the tension gets more tense, and then you have 2 extra strings to worry about. So I mean, when I play with Meshuggah, if I could, I would take the 8-string and I would swap it for a 7 or 6-string when I play my solos, and then bring back the 8-string for the riffs. But that's not how life works. And even though the 8-string guitar it's super nice, and it plays a lot smoother and more easy than other 8-strings that I've used in the past. No, because of the Endor neck and the whole the thing about Strandberg guitars. I mean, the ergonomics of it. It's a really easy guitar to play, but not really when you compare it, to my Strandberg 7-string. I mean, this guy plays like butter. So yeah, maybe I should go for and play 5-string. Only play leads. So you heard it here first.
All right, good stuff. I think we will end it there.
Sounds good.
Say bye to everyone.
I enjoyed this immensely.
And so this was part of it's a collaboration with Uppsala Guitar Festival, which is going on right now. Visit their website, uppsalagguitarfestival.se, where there are streaming links to the concerts that are happening today and tomorrow. And as I've said also already, this stream obviously stays up on Facebook. We're also archiving it on our YouTube channel, so feel free to watch it there and tell your friends. And tune in tomorrow, because then at the same time we will be announcing the winners of the online competition that we've done together with Uppsala Guitar Festival again. And new for this year is that we have a bass winner and a guitar winner. So something to look forward to. Thanks for watching, and
can I add something?
Soon. Yes, you can.
Yeah, before we go offline, like if you want to stay in your couch or in your sofa or in your car or wherever you're watching this, until tonight at 11, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm diving into this.
Yeah, there's a Meshuggah show that we recorded last summer at Summer Breeze at one of the big Euro festivals. So we played in front of a big crowd, like tens of thousands of people. It's multi-camera, pro shot. It's been up. The show has been up on YouTube before because it was streamed at the time, but now I heard it's been like mastered and they beefed up the sound a bit, so it's gonna be really cool. And I know the band they are doing some special merch stuff. If you want to support, but I think I'm gonna watch it myself because that was a fun show, and there's no fun shows this summer, so you gotta that's what you get. But,
Yep,
well,
I'll definitely be watching that too.
nice hang, everyone. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Signing off.